Okay, Danny, do you remember when we met and how we met, from your perspective?
If I'm not mistaken, we met at Spiral Lounge. You were intending to meet up with Charlie. You'd seen the videos, and he didn't turn up or something, and I happened to be there.
Strange coincidence, no?
Possibly.
Okay, and I wanted to meet up with you and Charlie because of what I had intention to do with my court cases and that kind of thing.
Yeah, we spoke about your court case at the time.
Can you remember at the very beginning, from the very beginning, what I've always been saying about my particular court cases and anyway, what I intend to do with them, ultimately?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, you intend to kind of tell your story a bit. Is that right? In court?
Go on, say as much as you can remember, Danny, because I did tell you. Like a strategy, vision thing.
That it should be some sort of performance in a courtroom.
Yeah.
That you tell your story about your roots and your people and how they've been treated or maltreated.
And why tell that story in court? What's different about me telling stories in court? What did I tell you about that? First night when you drove me home, I told you all this in your car.
Now I'm starting to feel a bit embarrassed because I've forgotten.
I told you a poem in the car, do you remember? And then you came and sat in the boat with me for a couple of hours. And you left your gloves. Do you remember?
I remember leaving the gloves.
So you remember the boat, but you can't remember the conversation so much, is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll say it straight out. What I said back then and what I'm still saying now. When I surrendered myself to the police in that third arrest, when I was lighting a cigarette off a candle and somebody called the police and said there's a drunk man, when they came along, I was lighting a cigarette off a candle out in the street outside a pub. And they grabbed one arm from behind and put a handcuff on it, and then it took them 20 minutes to put the other handcuff on the other hand. Remember me telling you this?
Mm-hmm.
And when they got me down to the station, I'd only left the station at 5 o'clock that afternoon, and there I was back again by 10:30 that night. Same police officers still on duty. And they were saying, "What are you doing back here?" And I said to them, "Exactly. You've declared war against me and my people. I'm handing myself in as a hostage. I want it to be known. I'm handing myself in as a hostage, and I want it to be known all the way to the Crown and the Crown prosecution. I'm handing myself in as a hostage, and I want to be treated as such. You've declared war against me and my people." And then I was surrounded by 7 cops in front of the duty desk, and they pushing me around and all this thing, and I'm still in handcuffs, and I'm getting pushed around and all this thing because I'd resisted arrest, so they were still treating me really roughly, trying to teach me a lesson or whatever their idea is. I don't really know, I'm not one of them, but they were treating me really rough. Not the first time in my life. But one of them called me smelly, and considering that I'd been in custody for most of the last 2 days, I thought that was a bit rough for them to be calling me smelly. And without premeditating or anything else, I just kind of coughed the spit out at me and it landed straight in his cheek. So they all jumped on top of me, and the duty sergeant jumped over the duty desk to join the other 7, and 8 of them held me down, stripped all my clothes off me, and charged me with assault, and then put me in the cells. And the next day they brought me out for my interview, so I could incriminate myself by talking about what had happened. But before they brought me in to the interview room, they held up an exhibit. An exhibit is a small little knife that was in a bag that they brought with me. A bag that I hadn't packed, I hadn't put any knife into it or anything else. My girlfriend had put a little tomato knife in it when she'd been packing up the squat that we had been evicted from that morning, which is why I'd been arrested that morning from a squat that the council were evicting. And it was an unfair arrest, and I was never charged or anything. I was just kept for 7 hours until the squat was emptied, and then I was released without charge. But they chose to accuse me of having a knife as if it was some sort of weapon, as if I was the sort of person who would use a weapon, or it was offensive for me to have a bag or a knife, or to have been evicted, or to possess a knife in my home. So I go into the interview room wondering, what's the story with the knife? Like, where did they get the knife? Did I have a knife in my hand or something? Is there something I don't remember? I had to really question myself and say, man, did I black out? Like, and inside in the interview, about 35, 40 minutes into the interview, they finally got around to asking me about the knife, and I'm like, where did you get the knife even? And they're saying, oh, it was in the bag. I'm saying it was in the bag. Which bag? They're saying the bag you had with you. And I'm saying, well, I didn't have a bag with me. You're saying your girlfriend or whoever she is said it was your bag, so we bought it with you. I was going, man, she bought that bag along with her because it had my phone charger in it. But I didn't have any knife at all. Like, this is bogus. And that interview was brilliant. It's a 45-minute interview. I got it back off the police. And in that interview I state all that stuff that I would like to speak in court or have heard in a court. It speaks of who my people are, of how we were brought up, about what our history is, and about who the ancient enemy is, who's still waging war against us. And we're just still holding out for peace. That's why we don't carry weapons. We're peaceful people. We didn't make any war in Northern Ireland. That's all infiltration. The heads of the IRA themselves have only found out in the last 5 to 8 years. At least 2, if not 4, out of the top 5 people in the IRA are infiltrated agents. 2 of them are known about. It's been on the news, but it ain't on the news much. And that's heavy news.